And welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by the Sechler Law Firm, where great families make great estate plans. My name is Tim Sechler. I am the owner of a law firm called the Sechler Law Firm, where we do nothing but estate planning and elder law work. We do a couple types of cases. We help people with wills and trusts, which is what I like to talk about a lot on this show. We also help people with post-death administration. So if you've ever lost a loved one and have to be the executor, the trustee, or just a concerned family member in those situations, we help families with those things. And then we also have the ability to help people when someone goes to a nursing home. So about a half a dozen times a month, we're contacted by a family where someone is in a nursing home going broke due to long-term care costs. And the question put to our law firm is there anything that we can do to help this family protect assets, make sure mom has a house to live in, some money in the bank? And because we do that kind of work, my firm's estate planning, especially for baby boomers, seniors, retirees, soon-to-be retirees, our law firm focuses an awful lot on asset protection. We need to protect your stuff from what goes bump in the night. And that's what we talk about on this radio show. So if you're new to the radio show, we're going to teach you some things that you need to know in order to get a great estate plan for your family. Now, remember, this is a radio show. This is not legal advice. I am an attorney. I am not yet your attorney, and I would love to win your work, but don't consider this show or any other radio show legal advice. Don't make any decisions based on what you hear on this show or any other radio show. I want to take a second to recognize a couple people. So if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, we also do this show as a live video recording. I want to thank a person on my team by the name of Brandon Perdue. Brandon is our intake director. He talks to pretty much every new client who is working with our law firm with the sole goal of trying to understand, what is this person concerned about? What are their goals? What are we trying to work out? And just welcome them to our law firm. Brandon is also a very handy guy. And so we have our new event center, which is in Warrendale, where we host a lot of our estate planning workshops, and it's a big old space. We got lots of room. And I have finally set aside a little space for a recording studio, which I am recording this radio show for in the first time. So Brandon put it together, set it up, did all the cameras, the lights, the action. He painted it, he decorated it, he did all these great things to make this show look great. So I've got a fantastic team behind me here at the Sechler Law Firm as we move forward with our mission to protect 20,000 households from the big bad wolf, from the things that could interrupt a happy retirement, from the government, whether it be taxes, long-term care expenses, probate, and just unnecessary bureaucracy. So we are well on our way to protect the 20,000 households in Western Pennsylvania, and can't wait to meet yours. And so that takes a team, one of which is a fellow by the name of Brandon Perdue, and Brandon, special thanks this week for setting up the new studio here. So I'm having some fun with it. This week's episode, what I want to chat about is control. I was doing a workshop this week, and there was a lady in the workshop. Her name is Cheryl. Cheryl, I told you I'd give you credit for this if you listen to the radio show. She asked a question. So in the workshop, I have this little joke where I'm looking for a one-line zinger about, what is everybody trying to accomplish? What's our goal? What is it that we're trying to do so that when you describe the impact of having an estate plan, and it kind of goes like this. It's like, I have some stuff, right? It wasn't easy to get my stuff. I had to work hard. I had to save when others spent. I was at work while they were at vacation. I didn't drive the fanciest thing around. Maybe I saved, and also along that journey, I also raised a family. Maybe I had a career. Maybe I started a business. Maybe I was active in a nonprofit. But I've got this great story of my life, and I have some treasure. I've got the savings, the retirement account, the house. I've got some stuff, right? So I've got my stuff, and I've got sort of my story. And what most people want to do, seems to me, is I just want my stuff to get to my people. First, I want to have like a fantastic retirement. I want to have some fun. I don't want to be stressed out. I want to have peace of mind knowing that I got a plan for what could be a problem. as far as government and taxes to creditors. So I want to have a stress-free and happy retirement the way that I've been thinking about it for 50 years. But then after that, if I've got some leftovers, I want the leftovers to get to my people. I don't want the leftovers to get to the nursing home or to the government or the taxes. I want it to go to my people. And of course, that's what we want. And what Cheryl added to this when I was talking about it in the workshop last week is she said, well, the other thing that they want is people want to maintain control. They want control. I think that that's maybe a piece that we haven't talked about a ton here is you want to maintain control. So what does that mean exactly? Control. So one of the things that we like to teach our clients is that estate planning documents, whether it be a will, a trust, a power of attorney, we're only really governing two things. We're managing control of me and my things. You know, who's the decision maker? What are they allowed to do? We're like dealing in control. So a power of attorney document, for example. A power of attorney document is a document that is designed to allow someone else to make legal and financial decisions when you can't, right? Because you have lost control. Maybe you've had a stroke, maybe it's a head injury, whatever the case may be. But for some reason, you can no longer make these decisions. And so the power of attorney document is a document that names someone else to be able to make those decisions for you. So it's a shift of control. See, so all we're doing with these, in a will, I could argue, a will is an access document. Who gets the stuff when I pass away? Now, it's also sort of a control document because it names an executor. But this is what we're dealing with. We're using these tools to increase or decrease or to appoint or assign control and access. If you think about it like that, what does everybody want to maintain? Well, you know, I work with a lot of seniors. I've been working with seniors well over a decade now, and you know, one of the things that is on their mind when they're in their retirement years is they don't want to give up control. You know, they're afraid of the role reversal. The role reversal is the child becomes the parent. The child becomes the decision maker. And a lot of the retirees, especially feisty retirees these days, you don't want to give up control, right? I'm not ready for your rocking chair, like, you know, and so people want to maintain control. So, but we also have to be realistic in that a lot of seniors are going to need care. 1 in 3 of us are going to have dementia. 2 out of 3 of us will need some form of long-term care. So most of us will need some form of long-term care. Well, let's be realistic, right? So plan A is you know, never go to a nursing home, never need long-term care, live to 115, pass away in your sleep one night after having run a marathon, right? I mean, that's plan A. Plan B is maybe I will need some help. Right, and we have to think through this a little bit. But whenever I start talking to clients about protection of assets, so the best way, this is just my opinion, the best way to protect assets if you're worried about this long-term care stuff, and you want to plan ahead of time, which by the way is the best way to do it. We need to use certain types of trusts, right? And the best type of trust, and I think a trust that a lot of middle-class Americans should consider, retirees, soon-to-be retirees, is a type of trust called an asset protection trust. And this is in a broader category of trusts known as irrevocable trust, not revocable trust. It's an irrevocable trust as compared to a revocable trust. Now, when I first started teaching people about using irrevocable trust to protect themselves and their treasure, people get a little nervous, right? You know, just if you're listening to this radio show and you're learning about this stuff, just the word irrevocable probably brings in a little bit of fear, right? You're probably a little concerned about what that means, right? And there's this funny thing that happens when I'm speaking the word irrevocable. Let's say I'm teaching one of our estate planning workshops, and there's a bunch of people in here, and you know, we try to have some fun with the stuff. We tell some jokes. We keep it light. But there's a point when I'm talking about irrevocable trusts, and I can see the blood pressure rising in the room just as soon as you say the word irrevocable. And here's what happens. I'm at the front of the room, and I speak the word irrevocable. And somewhere, and I don't know physics well enough to know how this happens, but the word irrevocable leaves my mouth. It travels through the sound waves. It hits the person's ear. And then sometime between it traveling through the sound waves, going through the ear, and getting to the person's brain, the word irrevocable turns into the word permanent. So people, I say the word irrevocable, and people hear the word permanent, like set in stone, nothing can be changed. And that's not necessarily how irrevocable trusts have to work. You don't necessarily have to give up all the control, but it takes a little education to understand this stuff. So what do I mean by this? Well, it's possible you could serve as a trustee or a co-trustee of your own irrevocable trust, depending on what it is you're looking to accomplish. It's also possible that you could retain a thing called a power of appointment, which is the ability to change beneficiaries. It's also possible that you could retain the ability to change trustees. Like, there's lots of control elements, even with an irrevocable trust, that you can maintain that make these things way less scary, and certainly way less permanent. And so you can use these tools to protect assets, because while what everybody wants to maintain is control, what most of my clients also want to do, most of my clients also want to protect assets from long-term care expenses. But to protect assets from long-term care expenses, you have to give something up. And you're probably thinking it's control. It's not control. The thing you have to give up to protect assets from long-term care expenses is access. If you can get it, they can get it. If you can't get it, if there are no circumstances under which you can get it, neither can the nursing home, neither can the government Medicaid system. And so we can give up access. But a lot of people think to protect assets, you have to give up control. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that people ask me all the time is, can't I just put my house in my kid's name? Well, okay, let's get aside from the fact that that's probably a massive tax mistake in most situations. If you put your house in your kid's name, now what have you just given up? You've given up control, right? Because you now have put the house into the kid's name. The kid is legally the decision maker. Even if the kids love you and you trust that they're going to take good care of you, you've given up control. And so then the question becomes, well, what happens if something goes wrong? What happens if my daughter, I put my house in my daughter's name, what happens if my daughter goes through a divorce? What happens if my kid dies before me? What happens if she gets sued? What happens if she gets sick? What happens if she starts drinking, gambling, or chemical dependency? And you can go down this road of what ifs. And the reason why that's so scary is because you actually have given up control. The kid owns the asset at that time. If the kid owns the asset and then gets sued, the judges don't care that this was sort of some informal arrangement that she was just holding it for you. That asset is now subject to that kid's creditor issue, which is a step too far from an asset protection standpoint. You do not have to give up control to protect assets. You have to give up access to protect assets. Okay. That's why with the irrevocable trust that we do, you can maintain certain elements of control, but you give up access to the money, because if you can get it, they can get it. But most people, and let's just talk about the house for a second, most people could be willing to give up access to owning the house, right? So let's say you're retired and need to do some planning. Okay, one of the things that we may suggest if you are a homeowner is that you want to get that house into an irrevocable asset protection trust. Well, that sounds scary. That's so permanent. Yeah, well, no, maybe not, because the only thing you're really giving up is your ability to access your home equity, right? You can no longer write yourself a check. But with regard to the house, you're probably not writing a check anyway. I mean, I guess some people take home equity loans, but you can't really write a check from a house. And so what you really want is a place to sleep at night and keep your stuff, right? That's your house. You're not really writing a check from the house. And so what if we could put your house into a trust that says the only thing you're giving up is the right to access the money, the right to write yourself a check, which was a right you were never going to do anyway. So you put your house into a trust, the only thing you're giving up is the right to do a thing you were never going to do in the first place. And by holding it in that trust, we have now protected it from your potential biggest financial risk in retirement, which is what happens if you end up needing long-term care. So this is a pretty interesting topic for some people, is how to protect assets without giving up control, which is why we teach it in our workshop, our 3 Secrets to Protect Your Legacy workshop, which you can register for anytime you want at SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com. Go to SechlerLawFirm.com. And if that's too hard to spell, go to estateplantim.com. And when you land at that website, you'll find lots of helpful information. But go to the tab that says workshops and register for the first workshop, which is the 3 Secrets to Protect Your Legacy. Now, during that workshop, what we do is we talk to you about documents like wills and trust and powers of attorney. We talk to you about taxes. We talk to you about long-term care expenses and how you can protect yourself from these things. Provide yourself with a little bit of peace of mind knowing that you have a real solid plan B just in case you're not going to live to 115 years old and die in your sleep. We know how we're going to respond in the event we end up having a healthcare issue. We know how this thing is going to work. And by knowing this, now what we've done is we've protected ourselves and given ourselves a little bit of peace of mind. And that to me makes some sense. So if that makes some sense to you, what I'm going to encourage you to do is come to one of our workshops. These things are free, and then we'll invite you to a series of classes where you're going to learn all about proper estate planning for free, and then you can decide whether our law firm is a law firm you'd like to do business with. So we do things a little different at Sechler Law Firm. I just described a series of classes that we ask our clients to go through because why classes? Why do we do this? Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm sitting in our brand new education center. We have our own event center with a couple of classrooms in it, and we host these estate planning classes because I don't want to charge you for education. Like in my core, I think I'm a teacher. Had I chosen a different profession, I think I might have been a teacher. I chose to be a lawyer, and so what I do is I just teach the law to people. But I never wanted to charge people for education. But this stuff is complicated, right? If you want to do a good plan for your family, you have to understand the difference between powers of attorney, healthcare directives, wills, guardianship, trust, revocable trust, irrevocable trust, funding the trust, tax concerns, long-term care expenses. It's all very complicated. It's a lot of information to try to consume, digest, and understand. And the way most law firms work, and the way that we used to do it, is we would offer you a free consultation, and you come in and we spend a half an hour getting to know each other a little bit. Then you get 25 minutes of education. Then you're asked to make a decision. Do you want a will or a trust? And of course you don't have enough information in 25 minutes. And so you decide the one that whatever feels right, that regardless of how well you understand it. And then you end up getting these documents. You read them. You kind of get what's going on, but you don't fully understand how all this stuff works. And I always felt that there was something off with that process. I always felt like we were maybe rushing people. I always thought that like maybe people didn't fully understand the tools until we really then later in the process get to sit down and explain everything. But I want people to have the information up front. And so here's the problem, though. You start doing these educational meetings one-on-one, and it takes a couple hours to explain this stuff properly. Well, you can't do that for free. You can't give every potential prospect in my business, every potential prospect that may want to do a will or a trust, you can't give them 3 or 4 hours of education in one-on-one time because you never get any billable work done. And so then the prices get so darn expensive on these things. So what happens is the law firm ends up quoting this big price because they've got to do so much time getting you to understand the stuff that they already understand and is frankly in your best interest, but they need you to get to understand it, and that takes a lot of time and jacks up the billable hours. And I was running my practice that way, and then I realized that maybe there was a better way to do this. About 18 months ago, I started a different way of doing it. And what we do now is rather than all these one-on-one meetings where we're essentially doing education, we invite our clients to go through a series of classes in our event center, in our own classroom, where we take the time needed for you to properly understand your options, how it works, why you might want to do the type of planning that we do. And we do all this education for free in a classroom setting so that you can make a well-informed decision. I mean, my one promise to you is you will make a well-informed decision because we're going to give you a ton of education before we ever ask you to write us a check. And after you've got that education, if you like what we have to say and you decide to hire the firm, then hire the firm, and that's wonderful. If the way that it works out is you get a bunch of information and you don't think it's a great fit and you don't hire us, hey, listen, part of who we want to be is an education firm, and if you get some great education and don't decide to hire us, I hope you make some better decisions with someone else. But the entire idea is free education, and then make a decision. But here's the beautiful part about it. Because we do our work in these classroom sessions, which start with the 3 Secrets workshop, because we do the work in these classroom sessions, we don't have to charge for the billable hours, which allows us to keep the cost of the better estate planning tools at a lower rate because we do them in a group. And so we've got this process that if you've been putting estate planning off, if you've been sort of backburnering this for a while, you know you need to do an estate plan, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, you don't know how much it's going to cost, come check us out. Come to one of our free upcoming 3 Secrets to Protect Your Legacy workshops. We also do these as webinars online where you're going to learn all that stuff. Just come get the free education, and then you can decide if what we're teaching you seems appropriate for your family. If it does, you hire the law firm. If it doesn't, maybe you put this thing on the back burner again and decide not to do it right now. But either way, you're not going to hurt our feelings. I mean, one of the things that we're seeking to do at the law firm is help people understand it. And so the whole piece today is you're in the driver's seat, right? You're going to get the information for free. You're going to make a decision. And then the estate planning documents that we use, which we use to protect you from your biggest risk, also leave you in control, right? I'm not interested in removing your control. And so that's the way it works. And then after you get your estate plan, in law school, they talk about estate planning as what's called a transactional law practice, right? So like litigation is one thing. If you want to be in a courthouse all the time fighting about it, that's litigation. But then there's these other practice areas that some of the law professors talk down upon. Like that's just transactional law, right? And estate planning historically is known to be a transactional process. But I disagree, because what does that mean, a transaction? It means you give the law firm money. The law firm gives you a set of documents. You sign the set of documents. And a transaction, right? You gave the law firm money. Law firm gave you legal work. That's it. But see, here's the problem. Things change, right? Going to a law firm is not like going to Lowe's. Most people don't go to the law firm every week, right? You go to Lowe's every week because something's breaking every week. So you're at Lowe's all the time. And so whenever you need to make a change, whenever you need to buy a tool, you just go and buy that one tool and you leave, and then you fix the thing, and whatever breaks next week, you go back to Lowe's and you buy the thing you need. But here's the problem. With estate planning, it's not like going to Lowe's or Home Depot. With estate planning, people typically only do this once or twice during their lives. And then things change, and people don't think to go back to the lawyer. Like a family member passes away, somebody gets sick. And you forget that what you should do is get back with a lawyer and change the estate plan. And so what we do with our clients is, rather than just selling you some set of documents and never talking to you again, we offer you the opportunity to join what we call our Red Wagon Club. The Red Wagon Club is it's an ongoing membership program where we keep you educated on things like estate planning documents, taxes, long-term care expenses, how to teach your family members what it means to be your trustee in the future. So we teach you all the things that you'll need to know in order to keep the plan updated. And as a result, what you do is you continue to maintain a relationship with us, and you tell us when your life changes. If your life changes because somebody got sick, if your life changes because you got sick, if your life changes because there's somebody in your family that you would like to remove from the estate plan, if there's somebody in your family that you'd like to add to the estate plan, maybe you decide to add a church or a nonprofit to your estate plan later, we just help you with those changes, right? Keep us apprised on what's going on in your world. We keep you apprised of what's going on in our world. And it's really a neat thing. And then there's this really cool thing that started to occur within our Red Wagon Club, which is now a couple hundred members, is we do some fun stuff together. So once a month, we have a fun social event. People that understand, think about who this is. These are people who have gone out of their way to create a great estate plan for the family. They're living in peace of mind. They know that they have a good situation going. They know that they have a plan for, the bad things that could occur from a financial standpoint. And they like to hang out together because it turns out they all got a lot in common, most people. are of similar demographics from an age standpoint, from a net worth standpoint, and they got a lot in common. And so we get together once a month and just have some fun. And that's called the Red Wagon Club. So that's a little bit about how you can use legal planning the proper way to maintain control of your retirement, maintain control of your assets, but also protect those assets and yourself from your biggest financial risks. And if this makes sense to you, what you probably ought to do is come to one of our free estate planning workshops. Go to SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com, and register for a workshop. So remember, folks, this radio show is for your education and information. Please don't make any decisions based on what you hear on this radio show. We'd love to help you if you need to get some legal work, and can't wait to meet you. So thanks for listening.